Okay, so I've just drawn the earth, and I believe that you do understand how we can just draw the earth, the structure, or rather the shape of the earth. So now, once we understand how we can actually draw the earth, then we begin now to elaborate some of the lines that are found on this imaginary earth. Now, the imaginary earth will look like this. So I have drawn this earth. Okay, this is an imaginary earth. Now this imaginary earth has got a line that comes all the way from the north up to the south, and those lines are what we call the longitude. Okay, those are the longitudes. So the lines that run from north to south, okay, they are called the longitudes. And then we also have these lines that you can see more like a circular lines. Those lines are what we call the latitude. Now the latitude, they run from either east or west, or the other way around. And also the longitude, they run from north to south. Okay, but they are measured either east or west. Okay, so you have to understand, okay, a longitude is any line, okay, that you can actually think of as if you are drawing the graph paper. And when you're drawing the graph paper, there are those lines that we call the lines that are in the y-axis, as well as those that are in the x-axis. So if you can actually bring this concept as you relate to the lines that we draw on the earth surface, then we have that the y-axis are the longitudes, the x-axis are the latitude. Now here is the point that I want to make it clear to you, that the longitude, they are measured either east or west, and then also the latitudes, they are measured either north or south. So now these lines, the longitude or the latitudes, they are actually divided by special lines. For example, when you look at this 0 degree, okay, this 0 degree is the line which we call the equator. Okay, that is the equator. So the equator is what divides the line into two equal parts, the northern hemisphere as well as the southern hemisphere. And also there are the lines, these lines that runs from north to south. That is a special line we call the Greenwich Meridian line. Now this line is what normally we use to measure time. Okay, so that's more reason why when we are measuring time, we consider this line. Okay, we consider this line, and this line is what divides the earth into two equal parts, the east as well as the west. Okay, so now you begin now to understand what these lines, they actually mean. Okay, so the latitudes, they are the lines that run from the east or west or vice versa. Then the longitude, they run from the top, which is the north, and then they come down to the south. Now what I want you to understand is, if any point is actually above the equator, okay, then that's point in terms of latitude, it is north. If any line is below the equator, okay, in terms of latitude, that line is the southern. Okay, I hope that's making sense. Okay, so now when you come back on the eastern part, okay, is on the eastern part, then that line is east. If any line is after this prime, the Greenwich Meridian time, should I say, in fact, let me just draw it properly. Okay, so let me just give you a clear concept there. So this is actually the Greenwich Meridian. Then we actually have understood that this is a Greenwich Meridian. So if any line is above this, if any point lies above that line, then that is east. Okay? So that side is east. Then if any line is before, okay, before this Greenwich Meridian, then that is west. Okay, so those are the concepts that I want you to understand. Okay, if you don't actually understand this concept, then it's gonna actually be very difficult for you to really understand what we mean by the latitude of a certain point, and also what we mean by the longitude of a certain point. So I encourage you to take time and make sure that you concentrate on understanding what are latitude and what are longitude, so that we don't actually get confused as we begin to answer some of the questions and some of the problem solving. Okay, so please understand the concept of what is a latitude and what is a longitude, so that we begin now to solve in terms of when you come to the calculation of distance, because that's gonna matter. Okay, if you don't understand, then we'll have a problem understanding the concept behind distance calculation. Okay, and that's what I want you to understand. Now, after understanding those concepts, let's now move to the concept of types of circles. Okay, types of circles. Okay. Okay, so welcome back. Let us also not forget the concept of a compass, a navigational compass. Okay, the navigational compass, which is north, south, east, west. Okay, that's gonna help us to understand which part in terms of longitude is the eastern or the western, which part in terms of latitude is the northern or the southern. Okay, so I want to actually to re-emphasize that knowing which part is the east and the west, and knowing which part is the north and the south, is actually a good concept, or rather it's a great concept that you really actually need to understand in the concept of or just understanding the whole topic under earth geometry, because that's a key and that's the fundamentals of our earth geometry. Without that, then we will be struggling, okay, minus understanding, minus, not be able to solve some of the questions, not because we have not understood earth geometry, but because we don't actually understand what longitude are and what latitudes are. And actually, if you understand that, that's gonna actually help you. So I believe, and that's the thing that I'm actually emphasizing on. Please understand the concept of longitude, latitude, and also understand which part of which side is east and west, as also which side is north or south. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that's the end, our first objective.